Today we will be discussing the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, their movement and their effect on the vocal cord. So the first intrinsic muscle of the larynx is the cricothyroid muscle, which is the only intrinsic muscle of the larynx which is lying outside the larynx. The cricothyroid muscle takes origin from the lower border of the cricoid cartilage and the outer surface or the lateral surface of the cricoid cartilage. So this is the origin of the cricothyroid muscle. And this cricothyroid muscle gets attached to the lower border of the thyroid cartilage as well as the inferior cornu of the thyroid cartilage. So this is the cricothyroid muscle. As you can see in this diagram, there are two parts of the cricothyroid muscle. This vertical running part is known as the vertical part, and this oblique portion of the cricothyroid muscle is the oblique part. So this was the cricothyroid muscle. Which had two parts, a vertical part and an oblique part. Now the action of the cricothyroid muscle. To understand the action of the cricothyroid muscle, there are two views. First is the classical view and another one is the Nages view. In the classical view, the thyroid attachment of the cricothyroid muscle becomes fixed and the attachment of the cricoid cartilage becomes movable. So, when the vertical part of the cricothyroid muscle contracts, it will pull the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage towards the thyroid cartilage. Now let us see in this diagram. If this is the vertical part of the cricothyroid muscle, it will pull the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage towards the thyroid cartilage. So there will be movement of the cricoid cartilage like this. This movement will occur around a transverse axis which is passing through a joint which was the cricothyroid joint. So there will be a rotation movement. The anterior arch goes upwards and the lamina of the cricoid cartilage goes downwards. And we all know that on the lamina sits the arytenoid cartilage. So this lamina was going down. As a result, the arytenoid is also going down. Therefore, the vocal fold which was present here from the vocal process of the arytenoid to the third angle gets stretched as the arytenoid is going backwards and downwards. So it will pull the vocal fold and will cause tension in this vocal fold. Therefore, the cricothyroid muscle is the tensor of the vocal fold. Now let us look into the another view which was the Nages view. In this Nages view, reverse happens. That is, the cricoid end gets fixed and the thyroid end gets movable. So when this contraction of the oblique part occurs, it will pull the thyroid cartilage downwards and anteriorly. So we can see in this diagram, the thyroid cartilage goes downwards and anteriorly. That will pull the vocal ligament that was present here and will cause the vocal ligament to get stretched. Therefore, again, in this view also, it acts like a tensor of the vocal cord. In recent electromyographic studies, the cricothyroid muscle causes tension of the vocal cord by following both the principles, that is the classical view as well as the Nages view. Now the next muscle, that is the posterior cricoarytenoid. To understand the attachment of the posterior cricoarytenoid, let us look into this diagram. This is the posterior view of the larynx showing the cricoid cartilage. This is the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. This is the two arytenoids. This is the epiglottis, and the dotted lines shows the thyroid cartilage. So the posterior cricoarytenoid takes origin from the posterior surface of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage on both the sides, gets attached to the posterior surface of the muscular process of the arytenoids. So this is the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. So this was the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. Okay, so what would be the action of this posterior cricoarytenoid muscle? Now we will again repeat that hand trick that we used earlier for the demonstration of the orientation of the arytenoid that you can see in my previous video on the laryngeal cartilages. So let us imagine these are the two arytenoids of both these sides. This one was the apex, this one was the vocal process, and this one was the muscular process of the arytenoid. And let us assume this is the cricoid cartilage and this is the posterior surface of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. So the posterior cricoid was taking origin from the posterior surface of the cricoid cartilage to the posterior surface of the muscular process of the arytenoid. So whenever it gets contract, it will pull the muscular process laterally. So if you look into this, and this one was the rama glottis, and here was the attachment of the vocal folds. Now look closely. Whenever the posterior cricoid gets contract, it was pulling the muscular process of the arytenoid laterally, and there will be a rotation movement of the arytenoids that will pull away the vocal folds away from the midline. That is known as the abduction of the vocal fold. The posterior cricoarytenoid is the only abductor of the vocal fold. So the posterior cricoarytenoid was the abductor of the vocal fold by causing lateral movement or lateral rotation of this arytenoid. Now the next muscle, that is the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. The lateral cricoarytenoid muscle takes origin from the upper border of the arch of the cricoid cartilage in this region to the muscular process of the arytenoids. So this one was the muscular process of the arytenoid. So let us join these. This is the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Now the action of this lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Again, we will use our hand trick. If these were the two arytenoids, the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle was getting attached to the anterior surface of the muscular process of the arytenoid and getting attached to the cricoid cartilage, upper border of the cricoid cartilage. So whenever this muscle will get contract, it will pull the muscular process of the arytenoid anteriorly. So whenever this muscular process moves anteriorly, there will be rotation movement in the cricoarytenoid joint and the vocal fold will move towards the midline like this. So this movement of the vocal fold is known as adduction of the vocal fold and the rama glottis becomes narrower. So the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle was a adductor of the vocal fold. Okay, now the next muscle, that is the transverse arytenoid muscle. The transverse arytenoid muscle is the only unpaired muscle in the larynx and it takes origin from the posterior surface of the arytenoid and gets attached to the posterior surface of another arytenoid. So this is the transverse arytenoid muscle. So what would be the action of this transverse arytenoid muscle? So whenever this transverse arytenoid muscle will get contract, it will pull the arytenoids towards each other and the vocal folds will come closer to each other. Therefore that movement is known as adduction. So the transverse arytenoid is also one of the adductor of the vocal cord. So let us again see in that hand trick. If these were two adenoids, the transverse adenoid was present here, and if it gets contract, so it will pull the adenoids towards each other and the vocal folds will come towards the midline, and that is known as the adduction of the vocal cord. Now the next muscle, that is the oblique arytenoid. The oblique arytenoid arises from the posterior surface of the muscular process of the arytenoid to the apex of the opposite side arytenoid. So this is the oblique arytenoid muscle. And if you draw the other side also, so this was the oblique arytenoid of both these sides. So what would be the action of this oblique arytenoid? By looking into this diagram, we can easily decipher out the action of this oblique arytenoid. So whenever this oblique arytenoid will get contact, it will pull the two adenoids towards each other, and that will cause adduction of the vocal cord. So again, the oblique arytenoid is a adductor of the vocal cord. Now the next muscle is the array epiglotticus muscle. The array epiglotticus muscle is the detached part or the continued part of the oblique arytenoid muscle. So it arises from the apex of the arytenoid to the lateral margin of the epiglottis. So this is the array epiglotticus muscle. And this is the opposite side array epiglotticus muscle. And if you see that the array epiglotticus muscle is the continued part of the oblique arytenoid muscle, because these two muscles are in continuation with each other. So this was the array epiglotticus muscle. This array epiglotticus muscle reaches the lateral margin of the epiglottis inside a fold of mucous membrane. That is the array epiglottic fold. So array epiglotticus muscle is one of the content of the array epiglottic fold. So what would be the action of this array epiglotticus muscle? So whenever this array epiglotticus muscle gets contract, the region or area between this array epiglotticus muscle, or you can say between the array epiglottic fold, that was known as the laryngeal inlet, will get closed. So the action of this array epiglotticus muscle is closing of laryngeal inlet. Okay. Now the next muscle, that is the thyroarytenoid muscle. The thyroarytenoid muscle arises from the thyroid angle and gets attached to the anterolateral surface of the arytenoid cartilage. So this one was the other side thyroarytenoid muscle. Okay, so this one was the thyroarytenoid muscle. Some of the fibers of the thyroarytenoid muscle gets detached from the thyroarytenoid muscle and lies medially here. And this muscle lies in the vocal fold. Therefore, this muscle is known as vocalis muscle. Okay. And if you put the vocal ligament also in this diagram, which was getting attached to the vocal process of the arytenoid. So this one was the vocal ligament, which was forming the vocal fold. So both these ligament and the muscle lie in the vocal fold. Also, some of the fibers of the thyroarytenoid muscle, which arises from the third angle, curves upwards and goes towards the epiglottis. Let us put these muscle fibers in this diagram. So these fibers were arising from thyroid angle and was curving upwards to get attached to the lateral margin of the epiglottis. Therefore, this muscle is known as thyroepiglottic muscle. Okay, which was the detached lateral part of the thyroadenoid muscle. Now the action of these three muscles. So whenever this thyroadenoid muscle and the vocalis muscle, which was present in the vocal cord, contacts, it will shorten the length of the vocal fold. Therefore, it will act like a relaxer of the vocal fold or the vocal cord. Therefore, the vocalis muscle and the thyroadenoid muscle were the relaxer of the vocal cord. And the thyroepiglottic muscle causes opening of the laryngeal inlet. Okay, so these were the action of these three muscles. Now a point to be remembered is that as the posterior cricoidenoid muscle was the only abductor of the vocal cords, that was opening of the rama glottis, that is necessary for the movement of the passage of the air through the larynx. Therefore, this posterior cricoidenoid muscle is known as the safety muscle of the larynx. Because any paralysis of this posterior cricoidenoid muscle lead to loss of abduction, so there will be a problem in opening of the laryngeal cavity, and that can lead to respiratory distress in the patient. Now the movements of the vocal cord and the shape of the rama glottis during various phases of respiration. So let us assume this is the shape of the rama glottis when we are seeing from above. This is the membranous part, the triangle part, and this one is the cartilaginous part, which was the posterior 2/5 part, and the intermembranous part was the anterior 3/5 part. So in quiet breathing, we will see the shape of the rama glottis like this, which is a pentagonal symmetrical shape. Okay, in full inspiration, more air has to go inside the lungs. Therefore, there will be abduction of the vocal folds that was caused by the muscle, that is the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. Okay, so the shape of the rama glottis in full inspiration becomes diamond shape. But in humans, the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, apart from doing rotation movements of the arytenoid, also slides away the arytenoids. Let us see in this diagram. This was the cricoid cartilage, and these were the arytenoid cartilage on the cricoid cartilage. So here was the posterior cricoid muscle. So whenever this muscle gets contracted, there was greater movement around this joint, as well as it was pushing the arytenoids outwards. Since it is the cricoid cartilage is slanting here, therefore the arytenoids will move away from each other. So the intercartilaginous part will become broader. Therefore, the shape of the rama glottis in humans in full inspiration would be enlarged triangular. Okay, during phonation or speech, the shape of the rama glottis is like an inverted funnel shape. Because to produce phonation, the vocal folds should come towards each other, and the blast of air coming from the lungs will cause vibration in these vocal cords. Okay, so in the phonation, the intermembranous part lies towards each other and the intercartilaginous part remains at its position. That was caused by the lateral cricoadenoid muscle. Now, in cases of whispering, the shape of the rama glottis is like a linear chin, because in whispering the intercartilaginous part also comes towards each other apart from the intermembranous part also. So the intercartilaginous part of the rama glottis comes toward each other, that is adduction was caused by the other adductors of the vocal cord, that was the oblique arytenoid and the transverse arytenoid muscle, apart from the lateral cricoid muscle which was acting on the intermembranous part, like this. Okay, so these were the different shape of the rama glottis during different phases of respiration.